it as natural as possible.
Yeah.
Okay, we are going live now. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another episode of Safe Space podcast. I'm your host, Vijay Hari. And today we are diving into a topic that's both intriguing and a little mysterious: graphology or analysis of handwriting. Think about it. Every time you put a pen to paper, you're leaving behind more than just words. Could your handwriting reveal your leadership style? Could it talk about your stress levels? Could it even communicate how you are dealing with your team members? Today, let's find out more about it. And to guide us on this fascinating journey, we have a true expert in the field of graphology, Dr. Gomati Venkateshwaran. He is the CEO of Hugo Health and Furniture and leads innovation in office workspace product designs. With a fascination for handwriting analysis that began his, during his UG studies, our guest has spent the last 25 years meticulously studying the handwriting of hundreds of individuals every year. Through dedicated research and continuous learning, he has developed a unique expertise that enables him to uncover remarkable insights into personality traits, preferences, and behavior. From identifying subtle patterns in handwriting to making connections with an individual's personal style and demeanor, he is able to decipher the intricate details behind the handwriting. Welcome, Dr. Gomati.
Thank you, Ms. Vijay. It's a real pleasure for me to be part of this podcast and sharing my insights about the handwriting analysis which I have gathered over the last 25 years.
Wonderful. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is graphology and how does it work?
See, graphology is more pattern analysis. I would call it as a predecessor to the current data analysis what you have. It goes down on a unit level of understanding how do you write when you put pen to paper, right? So there are various emotions which are in your mind which you try to channel through the pen, right? So graphology is basically a study of understanding the patterns of your handwriting, which reveals various factors about the writer, right from their intent of being, a good team member to how would they reflect on various thoughts which are critical for the life, right? It could analyze and give you various behavioral aspects of a person with respect to being a team player, with respect to be a job seeker, with respect to be a student, with respect to possibly analyzing the criminal intensity behind all the thought intents, right? Thought intents could be good and bad. All those can be analyzed and listed out as a part of your graphology findings. And this, as a science, if I have to say, people who have practiced it has gone beyond the 14th or 15th century. The first gentleman who are known to start doing this is called as Camillo Baldi, who was very famous for graphology in the year 1622. But there are two most important people whom we have to look at here. One is Albert D. Osborne, who wrote a lot of books about graphology to take it amongst to the masses so that it could be practiced and learned. And then there's a gentleman called Jean Hippolyte Miquelon in the 18th century who actually coined the word graphology, the Greek word. But what the beauty of graphology is that it emerged at multiple timelines in both in US, Europe, and Asia. So that was the fantastic part of it, that the science, this graphology emerged out in three different continents, in three different timelines, without being connected to each other. Are we there?
Am I audible now? I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, that's an interesting history about graphology. So, what exactly attracted you into studying this um, uh, graphology?
So, as the learned people say, my journey begins with a single step. During my college days, I used to be in Chennai, and I used to visit the British Library quite often. And the Albert Osborne book, whenever the librarian took time to get the books what I wanted, I used to go through this graphology book written by Albert D. Osborne, where it had started off with certain basics. So that kind of intrigued me, and I felt like a pretty cool lad when I shared these learnings with my predicting the behavioral pattern of my friends. So they started bringing in girls, started bringing in boys handwriting, boys started bringing girls handwriting to see how good a person they are as a friend or as a partner. Right? All the college time, cool things which you wanted to do. It started out as that, and then slowly it started to brew into me that hey, this is a nice tool to analyze and understand people. Then I started to use this when I started to recruit people to understand. And I didn't make it as a prediction, like, it was more of a study mode. So clearly, the last 25 years, if you see, I can have it as a learner phase, and then a phase where I sought acknowledgement or reinforcement or acceptance of the people that yes, this was working out. And then right now, I am confident of rolling out a few predictions for people which could help them understand more about their potential employee or a potential recruiter or a person with whom you are trying to get into a kind of a transaction, right? See, because when I'm there for an interview, right, I'm going to be putting up my best personality, my best communication skills, etc. And so it becomes more important for the. So I always classify the behaviors as two things. So one is a natural behavior, another one is a molded behavior. So this molded behavior is the most dangerous things which people get lured for. They get either recruited or they get, they get accepted by the other gender as a life partner, wherein it becomes difficult for them as the true factor comes out, right? As the true factor comes out, it becomes difficult for them to accept the true personality, and they always wish that hey, it would have been great even if I had a glimpse of the true personality before I got into the transaction with them. So this graphology analysis ahead of maybe recruiting. Let's say you have three candidates who are all in equal, right? With respect to possibly the technical capabilities, their leadership qualities, etc. And then you want to zero in on one person. Then graphology might help you to identify that one person who can suit your uh, you know work life qualities, what I call as WLQ, work life qualities, which is very important for us to understand, because relationships these days, they are three types. One is the real relationship which you have with your family members, right? Parents, life partners, children, cousins, friends, etc. Then you have the other relationship, which is a corporate relationship, which is typically with your uh, employees and then your bosses, etc. No, but what is going to succeed is people, many times we have read in many books that you need to have watertight compartments of a corporate life and a real life. But what I have seen is that where you can grow yourself pretty fast and be happy at work, happy and successful at work, is when you have a corporeal balance. And luckily for me, my first boss introduced this term to me as corporeal. His name is Gautam Das. He introduced this term to me, and since then, you tag on to those kind of life learning terms to excel forward. So, if you want to identify someone who can be corporeal with you, how would you do that? You need a lot of time to, and time is the most expensive thing these days. So, handwriting can actually give you a glimpse into the abilities of the person. It's not about, you can never force a character or an ability for a long time into a person. At one time or the other, the real thing will come out. So that real thing can be indicated or identified through your handwriting.
Wonderful. I think that actually reminds me of, I mean, the word prediction when you said. We've heard of prediction through palmistry or horoscope prediction and everything. Handwriting can also give prediction. So it's an interesting thing. 30 years ago, when I was in
I
school,
just need, I just want to put one word of correction. So the expectation is set, right? So this is not an prediction as a prediction which you can equate it to an astrological science or something, because there are still certain interpretation differences between the graphologists whom we know across the country. If it works for you, it can act as a catalyst in making a decision for you, not a sole you know reason to decide. Please,
Okay.
sorry I interrupted you.
So, the story, the personal story that I had was some 30 years ago when I was just passing out in my 12th grade. Because I was not sure, I had not made up my mind what I wanted to take. So one fine day, my dad pulled me out of school and he said, "Come, come, I want you to meet someone." And he took me to a friend who claimed he was a graphologist. And that was the first time I had an introduction to graphology. That was 30 years ago, and he asked me to write something, asked me to sign, and I also did that. And this graphology gave a prediction that I will be doing my future into with some metallurgy or metal iron related, and nothing in Chennai. I'll be moving out to Bangalore, or that is the place that I'll be in. So, me being myself, I was a person, I'm like, who is this person to predict my future? I will prove him wrong. I hate metallurgy and I don't like metal or anything of that sort. What will I do with that? And I proved him wrong, actually. I don't know whether it was this, what he did, but still in Chennai, uh, completely not into metals at all. So that is something, that was a funny thing that I keep telling my dad, you wasted my half day school time. Uh, Pulling me into graphology. That's interesting. I'm glad you predicted. I mean, predicting future is not really what was graphology about, right?
Well, so to say, to support my fellow graphology predictor, you are still in that profession, right? You are converting women who feel weak into women made of metal. So I guess you are still around that profession, maybe not as a colloq this meaning, but then you do are doing. And I am always fascinated about the transformation what you bring in the workplace and the kind of confidence what you give to the women. You make them strong, right? So a metal lady or an iron lady is what many people would want to see in their corporate lives too, right? So I really appreciate, and there's a salute for the work what you're doing.
Thank you for that. I think that's a great interpretation as well, actually. So maybe I think maybe that also helped me, as I said, it was a catalyst which helped me to say that hey, I will do something in this field, but not maybe in the same line. But yes, brilliant. Thank you for that. Coming to the question, one is, what is the science actually? How does it really work? What is the science behind graphology or handwriting analysis? And how what are the various, you said one is yes, during interviews for hiring you can use, what are the other areas at workplace that you can use handwriting analysis?
Okay, see, first thing is I'll tell you how what we look for in handwriting, right? A, we don't read the text. Whatever you write doesn't mean to us at all because we don't even read word to word to make a sentence like "I love my country." I don't read that sentence to say if after an analysis, if you ask me what was written in that text, I may not know that at all, right? So what I interpret and what I look on is the strokes of certain, for example, certain alphabets like Y, G, they go down, right? And then certain alphabets like L, T, they go up. And then there are connectivities which you have with the alphabets continuously. So is your handwriting straight? Is it tilted to the right? Is it tilted to the left? Or does it vary in between? And how was your left, right, and this margins? And are you writing in a when you're writing in a white paper, right? It gives me a better analysis compared to you writing in a ruled paper, right? And to understand people's behavior under pressure, under this and all, ideally, I would want to see a handwriting written in a unruled paper with an ink pen, and then with a the regular ball pen or something what you get these days, and then with the gel pen what you have. So what I'm trying to underlay here is your work environment, right? How is your work environment? Is it like you have to be bang at 9 o'clock in office and you have to be you have to be there till 6 o'clock? You cannot go. That's a restricted environment. Now then you have an environment which says, hey, you know what? Come in whenever you want, clock in 8 hours, and then move out when your job is done. That's another one, right? So there are different degrees of freedoms what you have. And then going back, you have your own McGregor's theory of X and Y, right? So where what kind of employees do you have? So it helps you to identify and what category of McGregor theory of X or Y the employee is even before you interact with them or even make a phone call with them. So in order to make you believe that whatever I'm saying with respect to their behavioral trait is correct, we do have we do have certain initial predictions which can make you believe. For example, when you give me an text without telling me who the author is, who has written it, I could possibly predict at least three or four of the non-vowel letters in their alphabet, non-vowel alphabets in their name. Right? For example, in your name is Viji. V is a non-vowel, J is a non-vowel. That I could predict, pull out from your handwriting. Of course, A, E, I, O, U is something which we all use regularly. But your name, the alphabets which are in your name, you write it with a special style, with a special stroke, always and everywhere, irrespective of what you are and how you are. So that defines the basic you. Then you have a condition of your left margin, then the right margin, then the top margin and the bottom margin, what you want to write. Right? Because white page is like a blue ocean. You can go out and express what you want, write what you want. But then how are you behaving in that part is what is given there. Right? So the strokes, the upper strokes, the side strokes, the connectivity. For example, for some issues, right, you will say, "Hey, I can always forgive people who do something bad to me or something." But then, do you forgive and forget, or do you only forgive, or do you only, do you just forget away, but then don't forgive them? How good are you as a team player, right? And what happens at the time of stress? How good is your attention to detail? Let's say if there are certain SOPs given by the company with respect to, let's say there is a job opening where you need a person to strictly follow an SOP, not deviate it from it one bit. That is basically not think much, but execute and follow the instructions given by the manager. Is the person suitable for the job? That can be predicted out of 100. Right? You need someone who needs to consistently collaborate with a teammate and find every possible avenue to break a rule to find the final to reach the final objective. What kind of a personality that can be identified by the handwriting, right? And when coming back to the basic things with respect to the dressing style, the respect for the authorities, what you have, will the person bypass a particular hierarchy and move forward? Will they fit into a system or not? All this can be predicted by graphology.
Wow, that's deep, really deep. What about inquiries, investigations? See, I'm like specifically in the area of sexual harassment investigations at workplace. So, how do we use this there?
So we'll start with the process, right? With the little I know, I believe the process starts with someone complaining about, let's say, Miss X complaining about Mr. Y, right? So when you ask Miss X to, normal thing would be that they would rush in and talk to an appointed authority inside the company saying, "Hey, I'm going through this, can you help me?" and all those stuff. So at that point of time, when you ask them to give a written statement as to what it is, right? So they have a mentality of placing what are the troubles they are undergoing through it. I wouldn't say they are accusing, but what are they undergoing? They would be recording their feelings at that point of time. Now, when you give this to a person addressed as, let us say, Mr. Y, and or Miss Y for that matter, uh, that person gives a reply again in the hundred, in a written format, right? So, as a person complaining, is there a true intent behind it, or am I trying to bully a person? That we can be predicted. Number one. Number two, we can also predict the state of mind with respect to, is it something like uh, uh, something which they picked up as a small thing which they're trying to make a mountain of a mole, right? Or is it like, did it really happen? Or is it some kind of an elusive thought that makes people believe that they are being subjected to certain conditions of interactions with people where misinterpretation is? How good am I as an interpreter of other people's gesture? Am I an what should I call, an extrovert or an introvert? How open am I to embarrassing a, not embarrassing that sorry embracing a social culture, right? So if I'm an introvert person, I don't have a larger circle of friends, right? And then when I feel intimidated by such actions, right? So am I speaking out the real thing which has happened, or do I have an intent? Is there a real intent behind bringing up this complaint? It's something which we can find out based on the person who is complaining. And based on the respondent's handwriting, we can find out if they are in steady mind when they are able to accept, or are they listening See, let's say when you say something about me, like you are this, you are that. Am I listening to you and then am I replying, or am I trying to give my defense even before you're trying to do it? It's like uh, a strategic reply. Like I know that this person is going to come back. Am I ready for my reply? So that is shows a steadiness in the handwriting, or the tension behind a person, right? Who is unsettled the way he writes. That is a different. And is the person in the process trying to cover up, or is he trying to explain the truth, but maybe he's not very good in English or something? So we don't read the English, we don't read the grammar, we don't read the words what they're using. It's all about the strokes. So based on this, you can analyze the intent of the person, whether are they trying to make it up, or are they real, or are they uh, nowhere concerned or nowhere connected to the complaint.
Wonderful.
So this
So
is
I think
something we have done many times. And recently, I had a Facebook friend. We are part of various graphology groups in Facebook as
Mumtik,
well.
your voice was breaking actually. I don't know whether it's only for me or whether even the audience are facing the same. My team in the back end, can you please confirm if it is something that's tracking for everyone? Because even your video is becoming a bit blur.
I have a clear vision of your video, and I can hear you
Okay.
clear.
Now it's better. Now it's better. Yeah, now we're back. So I think we'll continue with
Fine.
that. Yeah.
So I'm part of various groups in Facebook for graphology to exchange knowledge, right? So there was an acquisition made by the gender was not revealed to me while they shared the text, right? So it was revealed the acquisition made to a it was a police complaint about someone stalking is what was the brief. But then when I analyzed the handwriting, to my surprise or shock, I found that that particular author had the intention of hurting others to achieve what they want in order to move ahead in the life. And to my surprise, the result came back saying that that lady, it was a lady, and she was accused in multiple murders, and she was behind bars. And it was just given as a test to find it out. And I have a very uh, large-hearted recommendation from the person who was inquiring into that case about the accuracy of the predictions. In fact, I was able to predict how the lady looked without even looking at the thing, you know. So was it a chubby build, tall build, who someone spent a lot of time in presenting themselves up well, how the hair was, all these things were coming out of the handwriting.
Wow, I think that's very, very deep because a lot of cases that we handle, especially on sexual harassment, it all happens behind closed doors. We don't even get to have any evidences or witness, and a lot of times we are unable to give a solution whether it's proven or not proven. And this kind of analysis is really deep. So I think one thing that my strong takeaway is with all this digital world, we actually ask people to type back their responses and everything. But handwritten responses is helpful for further analysis. Right? Handwritten complaints actually helps. So that is one thing that's very strong. And also, what if people fake handwriting? Right? People probably they know. See, for example, for myself, my handwriting is really pathetic. But if I want to, because I've attended some calligraphy classes as well, I want to write neatly, I can write neatly, right? So, how do you differentiate whether it's the original handwriting or a faked handwriting?
So if you hand over a sample to me as what a original handwriting is, from a list of fake handwritings, I can find out who has which handwriting is a fake one when compared to a original handwriting, right? So per se, I will not be able to say whether it's the original handwriting of a person, whether a hand person will be able to write better or not. That is not something which we can predict. But having said that, even though you know calligraphy, everything, right? You don't follow that rule to the T. What happens is we look at the connectivity. Let us say earlier is a word what you write, right? I had called the person earlier. So that word earlier itself is good enough for me to make at least four or five predictions about the person's teamwork, about the person's ambition in life, about the person's inclination, about values and social values. social circle, all these things can come out with that one word earlier. Although calligraphy might teach you to function in a certain way, but you would definitely leave certain traces of your original handwriting in that, where we will be able to find it out. A small hint is enough. You will be able to find it. Talking about this digital phase, right? I'm sure many of people who are watching, like this Chat GPT and AI assisted communication and all, when you don't know what to do, you just write whatever you want to, and then you ask Chat GPT to correct it and then send it across. So that qualifies the communication style of the person with respect to am I communicating the correct sequence of events or correct feelings to the other person that the chat GPT can do. But when it comes to handwriting, the emotions always come ahead of your content. So handwriting is many times is also called as brain writing. So more than what it's a combination of your heart and brain thinking. What is getting revealed?
Okay. Wonderful. What about in the court of law? Does handwriting, like for example, can I take your prediction for a particular handwriting, and can I give a recommendation in a sexual harassment case, stating the case is proven false based on your handwriting analysis? Will it work in the court of law?
See, court of law will look at two things for this. One is the evidence is whatever you're collecting it, and the second thing is, let's say a person is accused of a thing, and then the by graphology or non-graphology, the court identifies a victim and not a victim, the culprit, and then they want to punish, right? So it's very important for them to know whether this person has the recurring tendency to do that crime again. Maybe I'm apologetic today and then I'm let off, and then coming back once my life comes to normal, am I going to be getting back to doing what I am, right? Repeated criminals or things like that, that can be analyzed. In fact, I think it was early 1930s, I believe, where a murder case was serial murder case was analyzed through handwriting, and the convict was sentenced. But the latest thing, if you see what was there, your Akshardham case in 2006. I don't know if you remember. Akshardham temple. Do you remember that case?
That's right.
So
Right.
Akshardham temple, there are a couple of people who just walked in and started shooting in the blind portion. So the government had no clue about who did it, how did it happen, and what happened. But then they found two letters written in Urdu in the crime spot, which was analyzed by a person of the investigation team, Mr. J. Patil, and he was able to name the person as so clearly that they identified the culprit, because they gave them like 20, 30 names of culprits which are were possible suspects. J. Patel was able to, if I'm right, his name was Munsari. He was able to identify that this is the person who has done it, and they were able to arrest the person, and the case got solved.
Interesting.
So
So not just
graphology
English,
can
so
expand your thinking. It can expand your thinking, can give you a better insight about the psyche of the person who is writing it. But it cannot say as a sole witness that this is what is going to prove. It cannot be a sole thing. It can act as a catalyst, as I would always say.
excellent. I think
Yeah.
that is real deep stories. I think very very important. And I think when you said to find out whether a person is serial offender or not, because I think that is very very important. Some of the recommendations that we give, we also factor in whether is this person really apologetic for what the person has done, or not really apologetic, because you know that this person could be a serial perpetrator. In such case, I think when handwriting analysis can give that, I think that is really a boon for organizations. Wonderful. So, one
And
last question.
succession planning is where handwriting analysis can be really big. And if I am correct, even to date, certain large corporates in Germany still use it as a additional level of filtration when they are reaching to make a decision. Psychometric analysis is one part. Second part is this handwriting analysis as well.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah, I think psychometric assessment has gone to a larger extent. So definitely, I think there's a huge future and scope for handwriting analysis. So, with all the technology that's come in, what is your closing statement in terms of how graphology can be used in workplaces in future?
I would see graphology surging up slowly as a tool for recruitment in the coming days, because everything else can now be faked, right from writing an email to writing a response to a customer complaint, because chatbots are everywhere, right? So same thing can also, someone can invent a thing where represent me in an interview. So it could be, everything could be there. Even though I'm looking at you and talking, are you confident that I'm looking at you and talking extempore, or am I having a curated text in front of me? You cannot say that, right? So this is what is going to happen. So how do you, if there is a desire for the employer to know the real person, right, the core person, his capabilities, his compatibility with the team, they would definitely consider graphology as an option before making a critical decision for a critical position. I wouldn't say they might use it for every person, but this is there because once you start adding, because one bad apple is good enough to spoil the entire bag of apples, right? So when you are, I would call it as weaving a team, right? So when you are weaving a team, if you can get the right people by right analysis and stuff, then the possibilities of them doing something, going berserk or doing something crazy at workplace, which could lower the morale of the other team members, can reduce.
And I was also told that for children, handwriting analysis doesn't really work. Are there any other areas that it doesn't work?
Well, children beyond before 13 years, it doesn't work. That is very clear. That is number one. And number two, there are people who are working with their extensive typing job who they do, right? Job typers. Right? In earlier days, in fact, Albert Brown, he excludes one category of workers who, Albert Osborne, he excludes one category of workers from prediction is the telegraphists. uh, I don't know if you remember the old time telegrams which used to come. They used to come through a technology called Morse code. And when the volume of telegrams were high, they used to just use one finger and do a dit or a dot or a dash. Right. So there were three alphabets in Morse code: dit, dot, dash. So this was used in various combinations to write long sentences. So when they do that repeatedly, and when you see their handwriting, right, one L itself will have multiple triangles in it. Forget strokes. One L will have multiple triangles in their handwriting because their handwriting would always be shaky. So that was there. So now that Morse code is not existent, I would give it to people who are in skills of using their wrist carpal tunnel extremely high, where they have high volume of typing jobs and all. Because if you're typing 6 hours of 8 hours in a job, then it will slightly come down. That is one. And third thing is you people who have nervous disabilities who have a shaky hand. That is something.
Interesting. Wonderful. I think very, very insightful. I think I thoroughly enjoyed. Wish we had a longer duration of talk here. A lot more. I know I've heard stories about you analyzing suicide notes and various other handwriting to come out with insights. Wish we had more, but definitely I would love to follow you on your LinkedIn to definitely read more about what you have been analyzing. So look forward for that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you for being here with us on our podcast today. So, to all the listeners, thank you for joining in. I hope you found this episode insightful. Please do share with us any feedbacks that you may have. Please do post it on my LinkedIn page for any more topics that you would like to hear about or any feedback in the format. I would definitely look forward to hearing. Till we meet next time, wishing you to create a safe and secure workplace. Thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Gomati.
Thank you. Pleasure was equally mine. Thank you.